The other one typically tends to bring out the risk taker side of us. The margin account is really what I'm talking about. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Another live stream. Purpose of these live streams: number one, we're watching the market live, and I will be trading if the market hits either of our entry zones and update you guys on what's happening. I've been seeing tons of back and forth on the news about the Trump tariffs, whether there's going to be a trade war, whether this is going to have broader market implications. NVIDIA wiped $600 billion of market cap off the board in the span of a couple of days off the DeepSeek announcement. So we're going to talk about some of those kind of bigger topics that are, I don't know, just taking up most of the news space today. All right. Before we do that, if you guys are in Latin America, if you guys are in Colombia, we're doing another workshop tour. We're going country by country, getting ready for the FX Summit 2025 in Colombia. First stop on the tour, February 15th in Bogota. So if you guys have friends, family, or you yourself are in Bogota, make sure to register the link below. So you guys out there, use promo code ChartAddicts 2025. All right. Now let's talk about some of the big news events. The stock market trade that we're looking at for some of you guys who are not as familiar, and those of you guys who do know our channel, NASDAQ got the zones already marked up. I'm going to wait for price to break through the zones. So probably smart to start adding some alerts here. So while we go through the news, if these trades hit either of the entry zones, we're going to make sure that we're there to take advantage. Beautiful. Okay. So let's actually go through and start talking about the Trump tariffs. And let me show you guys. I'll give you a broad overview. I'll kind of translate this to English for you guys. Basically, Trump is trying to get a bunch of stuff done. Most importantly, closing the borders, securing the drug sort of influx that's coming into the country. I just found out the other day there's over 200 fentanyl related deaths every day in the US. The leading cause of death for people ages 18 to 40 in America right now is fentanyl overdose. Let me say that again. The leading cause of death today for people between the ages of 18 and 40 is fentanyl overdose. That's a national emergency. And so at first, when I saw Trump threatening Canada, Mexico with these tariffs, I thought there was an economic incentive there. And then I started to look into it. I'm realizing this is not a trade war, people. This is a drug war. Okay, so we or Trump's administration threatens tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and basically everyone else, Colombia. These are tactics to be able to get them to move. Okay, Trudeau gets out, makes a bunch of empty threats, saying that they're going to start taxing American goods and this and that. First off, Trudeau's not a month away from being the hell out of here. We never have to see his face again. Thank God. Okay. Um, about 12 hours later, and a one phone call with Trump later, Trudeau backs off. There's no more threats towards the US, and all of a sudden, Canada's putting 10,000 Canadian troops on the border to secure it. Mexico, same thing. They were trying to fight the tariffs. Next thing you know, 10,000 reserve troops that were just sitting around idly, now deployed to the Mexico-US border. So while everybody's criticizing these tariffs as some sort of economic play, and they're looking at it from an economic standpoint about the implications, whatever, whatever, no one's really looking at the real objective that Trump is like, what is the ask that he's having with all these people when he initiates these tariffs? It's always related to border security, or it's always related to us getting ripped off or our military getting ripped off. For example, Colombia wouldn't take back um, these violent criminals that had committed offenses both back in Colombia and in the United States. They were refusing to take them back. One tariff threat later, they accepted everybody. Panama, take this. The US helped build the Panama Canal as number one, a trade route, number two, kind of an easy access port for the US military and the US Navy specifically. Now, fast forward, we paid for this thing and we protect it, but there's three Chinese companies that are basically controlling all of the flow from either end of the canal. Trump goes to Panama and says, there's only two people in this agreement that we signed, and it's us. And now you're in violation of it because you've let a sovereign third nation come in here and commandeer control over the Panama Canal in direct breach of the agreement that we have with Panama. 6 hours later, guess what happens? Panama is about to kick China out. And even crazier, this is probably the craziest news out of all of them, is Panama has vowed to cut their relationship with the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, which is China's sort of takeover strategy to connect all these countries, both in South America, Asia, Europe. I mean, obviously, these are separate. So South America is connected within itself, and then the Eurasian sort of like Middle East African sort of Belt and Road Initiative is its own project. But Panama cutting off ties with China like that, I think it signals a very, very big shift. China's been making a lot of progress in this game the last 4 years since we've been asleep at the wheel. And now I think a lot of it's going to get undone in the span of, God, shit, dude, it's only been a week. I feel like Trump's done more than the last two presidents combined. Oh shit, he was the last president. Yep, they definitely got in his way before, but yeah. So things are going crazy. We have a vote on RFK today at about 10 a.m. So we're going to be paying attention to that. But I just want to show you guys a few clips here from our new defense or our new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, talking about the impact of these tariffs and talking about kind of their negotiations up close. Okay, what is YouTube doing? Trump tariffs, Marco Rubio. Oh, he just did a sit-down interview today with Fox. Here it is. I'll play some short clips of this, but here's the two camps. Some folks are saying that tariffs are going to be a bad idea. Some folks are saying it's going to be a good idea. If you're looking at it economically, none of these tariffs are going to pass people. Trump doesn't give a shit about $75 billion dollars or $150 billion dollars from either Canada or Mexico. This is a direct threat on some of their biggest exports, their biggest revenue generators, to get them to do something like secure the fucking border, like they should have been doing, right? 200 people die from fentanyl a day. Yo, I didn't. This is like this is like terrorist attacks every day, right? Now, if you're a cynic like myself, you'd have to ask yourself, all the manufacturing jobs that were in, so like the middle belt of America, got outsourced to China over the last 12 years. But basically, since Obama signed the his tax plan that made it more advantageous for folks to manufacture overseas or to import from China. Now, at the same token, the biggest population that's dealing with this overdose crisis is that population. So China steals the jobs. These folks are depressed. There's no opportunity there. China's importing fentanyl. 200 people dying a day. The biggest affected group is that same group that lost their jobs. I don't know. If you're a cynic, you start to put pieces together and say, shit, that's a dirty game. Now, I would never say that because that's crazy. And I don't have a tinfoil hat on. Someone should look into that. I'm going to play a few clips here from Marco Rubio, our brand new Secretary of Defense, or sorry, Secretary of State. And then at about 10 a.m., 15 minutes from now, we'll watch hopefully RFK getting voted in as the head of the HHS, Health and Human Services. Make America healthy again. All right. So let's go ahead and play this.
You said that your meetings
Let me get an audio check from you guys. Just put something in the chats if we're good to go.
in Panama went well. After them, President Trump said that we're going to take the canal back or something very powerful is going to happen.
All right. How's the audio doing?
What's going to happen?
Well, I hope nothing's going to happen, and it shouldn't, because look, the president's point is we gave the canal in a treaty to Panama. We didn't give it to China. You come back 20 years later and you go to the canal, and on the entry points of both sides of the canal is a Chinese-linked company. In fact, when I was visiting there yesterday, the ship behind me, just over my shoulder, was a Hong Kong shipping vessel. And so their presence, not just in the canal, but in Panama writ large, is very disturbing.
So ridding their presence could solve this whole problem?
Well, we didn't give the canal to China. I mean, it's a violation of the treaty. What I told President Molino yesterday was that President Trump's made a preliminary determination that that there's a violation of the treaty. You're in violation of the treaty because a sovereign other country, a third country, has effective control over the canal area. And this, absent serious measures, we're going to have to preserve our rights under the treaty. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously there are a lot of options in that regard, and I think people speculate things, but I don't think we'll ever get to that point, and it shouldn't get to that point. So we had a very frank conversation. Since then, they've taken some steps. They announced that they're going to get out of the Belt and Road Initiative. We'd like to see more, and we hope to see more in the day.
That's crazy. We literally, how the hell did we survive the last 4 years without this country burning to the ground? This is insanity.
Is to come. The government doesn't control the canal. It's run by an independent agency, the Canal Zone. So they have to go through some legal steps that they have to carry out. But my hope ultimately is that we can get back to a point where that canal is.
By the way, market is almost at entry. I know it looks very enticing right now. It really looks like it just wants to fall out of the sky, which it could. But waiting for that one more push up into this range, into this, let me put this yellow box right here. Waiting for it to get into this zone before shorting, crucial. All right, so that's what I'll be doing. And yeah.
Is what it was meant to be, which is at the State Department portion, the migrant flights that are going out of programs that upset through now executive order, they were still trying to push money through the system.
Can it be reformed, or does it need to die?
Well, this is where it's talking about USAID, which is this sort of like, it's a government agency that thinks that they're having an identity crisis. They kind of think they're an NGO, and these non-governmental organizations are the ones that basically are funding everything, pretending not to be from the government, but getting government money. And USAID has just apparently been completely unaccountable, investing in all types of dumb shit. They found $40 million to start a Sesame Street show in Iraq. They spent $27 million to put on a drag queen show in what fucking country was it? It was like Kenya or some dumb shit. Bro, I don't even know how the fuck this stuff happens, but thank God adults are back in the room. All right.
We'll issue some here today in El Salvador because they do a lot of cooperation with us on stopping drugs and stopping migration and so forth. So we're going through it at the State Department portion of foreign aid. We find cooperation. State Department people have been great, and we're issuing waivers and we're getting input, and it's working. We go to USAID, which is a big chunk of foreign aid, $40 billion or so. They're completely uncooperative. They won't tell you what the programs are. They refuse to answer questions. They try to push through payments. Even after the executive order, they were still trying to push money through the system.
Can it be reformed, or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is, we don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. So the president made me the acting administrator. I've delegated that power to someone who's there full time. And we're going to go through the same process at USAID as we're going through now at the State Department. I think this is not about getting rid of foreign aid. There are things that we do through USAID that we should continue to do. That makes sense. And we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department, or is that better through something, a reformed USAID? That's the process we're working through. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding, or that we have a lot of questions about, but they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
So it could exist in the future, USAID.
Well, the aid, I think it's important to separate USAID from aid programs, okay? Because everybody's acting like somehow these aid programs are impossible without an agency.
It's very process-oriented. I mean, do you think that we'll still be the most generous nation on earth at the end of this process?
I think we'll be the most generous nation on earth, but we think we're going to be the most generous nation on earth in a way that makes sense, that's in our national interest. We are going to fund programs that make America stronger or safer or more prosperous. We're going to pay for things that make sense for the United States. The United States government is not a charity. It is not a global charity. There are a lot of global charities, and they should go to, if you want to be involved in global charities, go join a global charity, raise private money and spend it on whatever you want. But this is taxpayer money. It's not my money. It's not their money. It's our money. It's taxpayer money. And we have an obligation, if we're going to do foreign aid, to do it in a way that makes sense, that doesn't support our enemies, and that actually is aligned with, makes sense within the context of our foreign policy. And the people at USAID, at the top levels especially, have been completely uncooperative. They don't view themselves that way. They're insubordinate. They refuse to provide access. They refuse to provide information. Not now. They don't provide access to Congress. Go to members of the Senate who have tried to get answers from USAID, and they tell them, we're not going to tell you anything. We don't work for you. We don't work for state. We don't work for the president. We don't even work for America. We work for ourselves. That's not going to continue.
Do you get the sense that
All right, I'm gonna just basically like pause sharing on the screen, hop over to Trade I'm not supposed to be trading, but I'm just gonna trade on one of the accounts. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be in the short. Test to entry goes first, and then as soon as it kind of breaks into this yellow zone, that's where the real entry comes in. So I'm probably gonna do one contract as soon as I get on, and then I'm gonna do two contracts, like two solid contracts in this range. As soon as the market breaks below my first entry, I'm gonna, kind of take the opposite side, buy one contract. It'll take the average entry price up here. I'll have a wick entry basically. Wait for price to kind of pump down a little bit, close one of the two contracts, hold one of them and break even. Let this thing ride to the 61. Same drill every day. You guys know the drill. Any questions in the Chart Addicts chat? I know that was a little quick. You guys know the drill. Tester entry at the 88. Two contracts, or I mean, depending on whatever your risk plan says. But for me, it's gonna be one contract and then two. So three total. But then unwinding the trade is very important too, because you will get that rejection. Roman, what news we got? Let me take a look at this too.
during this pause, or are you concerned during this aid pause that China could come in and fill the vacuum with their influence operations?
Ooh,
No. I mean, first of all, they don't do that.
Roman, you're a legend. Yeah, JOLTS jobs openings is coming out in 7 freaking minutes. Wow. Okay, so this is the first JOLTS report that we've had since Trump's been president. JOLTS is the basically like the number of open jobs available, but it also is it's a full report that comes out. It's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It shows it shows like by sector, by seasonality, and it really just kind of helps give an overall picture of our operational capacity. So whenever you have, let's say, like, I mean, when you have the full potential of what we can do, that's our full capacity. When we're kind of undercutting that, when we're not operating at our full capacity, then there's slack. And so the JOLTS number basically just shows how much slack is there in the economy, or are we really just pumping it out? Like, not a lot of open jobs. Whatever open jobs there are getting filled up quick. And now that there's this, look, I'm gonna be honest, this is probably not a popular thing to say, but it's true. Because I mean, the Democrats basically said this during the elections, is that a lot of the illegal labor is working in the two most important sectors, price-wise. The first one is going to be agriculture, and the second one is going to be services, so hospitality. And so I don't know how this immigration policy is going to work. You know what I'm saying? In terms of prices, in terms of labor, in terms of the JOLTS report. But I think this is going to be something that we really got to look at the next few months to make sure that, let's say this deportation effort is not having a significant impact on overall productivity in the country. Market's looking a little bit aggressive, but this would be the first entry, so I'm actually going to go ahead and pause my screen. You guys, give me 1 second to hop on over.
Now, if they did, they'd be out there competing with us in these places. But my point is this, even if they did that, why would we fund things that are against our national interest or don't further our national interest, whether China's there or not? If China wants to waste their money on something that's against their national interest, go ahead and do it. We're not going to do it.
All right, so this would be a tester entry, and then we'd really have to kind of wait for some sort of rejection here. This thing looks pretty aggressive, but if there's anything we know, we're going to be very aggressive, closer to the double top. Then we'll see a retracement candle come all the way back through the zone. And so the longer you can wait to enter that second entry, the better. So the closer to the double top, the more likely you are to be able to profitably unwind this trade. Meaning if your first entry is here, like you guys can see these entries, And I'll just show you guys the math. Oh, wait, no, you guys can't see my screen. Let me switch back over to trading view. Oh, okay. So if your first entry is right here, you guys can see this red 23 is the first tester entry. The closer we can wait for that double top, the more precise that the second entry will be. And I'm going to have to go double whatever this number is. That's why it's really important to go moderate risk on the first entry, because if you want to be able to put in double what this is while you're in drawdown, you got to make sure that you're not in so much drawdown that you're over leveraging. Okay. Hope that wasn't too much. It's, you know, same strategy we've traded for years, just perfected it now. All right. Let's see the jobs number in 3 minutes. And then let's see if I can actually pull up RFK's confirmation hearing as well. Let's see if I can go RFK confirmation hearing live. Upcoming from the Hill. Okay. I'm not gonna subscribe to the Hill. Just go ahead and notify me. Actually, matter of fact, the Hill puts up some good work. They try to be honest sometimes. All right, we'll give this a look once it goes live. Now we're trading in this range. Keep in mind that on the higher time frames, here's what we got. This is the high. This is the low on the higher time frames. And so we're right in the middle. And so what are we doing on the smaller time frames is we're just trading this smaller range. Why? That way we can just scalp and get out. Now, where's the next sell entry? You guessed it, 88.6, which if I'm eyeballing this correctly, should be right about here. Well, come on. I can eyeball an 88.6 from outer space. So that would be the next sell entry right at the top of the gap too. That's actually very convenient. We have a retest of the top of the gap and an 88.6. This actually might be the best sell of the day right here. 21,720. That's about 300 points away. So the market climbs up there today. That's the best sell entry. You guys can see same exact deal here. We had a gap and then retest of the top of the gap as resistance. So it'd be same thing. Retest top of the gap, resistance, and 88.6. Now the current trade that we're in is a retest of this bearish swing down. 50 seconds until the JOLTS jobs release. This would be the second entry. Wait, I can't do math. 46, 50. All right, I'm going to pause my screen, head on over this page.
It makes no sense for us to be involved in things that undermine what is important to America or that don't. And irrespective of what China decides to do, this is taxpayer money. We shouldn't be spending it on programs that have nothing to do with the United States and nothing to do with making America stronger, safer, and more prosperous. We have a foreign policy, and everything we do, including.
Okay. So, that was Marco Rubio. Let's actually see if we can get anything from this RFK hearing. Oh, wow. All right. Might have to unwind this trade quickly. All right. Hold on. Let me see if my stop losses got hit. Oof, this trade is real close to my stops. I'm gonna hold for just a second, see if we actually get this pushed down, see if the news ended up fucking this up. But does anyone know? Like, I know that you can't, there's certain stipulations about trading during the news event. What about entering trades prior to the news event on Apex? Is there like a certain time window.
It's literally a guessing game with them, bro. They'll let you know when you send the request in for the payout.
I was thinking
They're like, hey, pause.
shit, you're funny as shit. No, it really is like that. Truly. Wow. Sheesh. 400,000 jobs either wiped off the market or occupied, probably wiped off the market. Hires changed, was down by 325,000. Separations, layoffs. Okay, so it wasn't people getting laid off. It wasn't people quitting their jobs. One in nine employees showed little to no change in job openings, hires, total separations. I mean, it wasn't too big of a change, but I think it was just overall jobs openings that ended up pushing the market or that ended up pushing this number. So the jobs openings number decreased to 7.6 million. On the last business day of December, it was down by 1.3 million over the year. The jobs openings rate at 4.5% decreased over the month. So the job openings rate is the total number of total number of jobs available in the economy and how many of them are open. 4.5% means that we're operating at 95.5% capacity, which is pretty fucking good. Any higher time frame is in the middle, but sells could go crazy around here. H4 is great sells. I mean, this is really just a scalp because like we have the 886 right here. I know that we're kind of breaking through the double top, but I would expect at least to pull back into the range first. Now, because of the news event, this thing really could just fly. So whatever you guys are not willing to lose, make sure that you unwind risk-wise. But it would be worth waiting a little bit. Patience pays in these situations. Just make sure that you are risked. Make sure that you're risked responsibly enough to hold this thing. Okay, because it might mess around a bit, but even if it's going to fly, typically we'll see a correction first back inside the range and then a continuation. So risk management is key here. All right, December, the number of hires changed little at 5.5 million, but was down by 325,000 over the year. So hires increased in finance and insurance. All right, let's see this. Uh, duh, 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 duh. December 2024. Where's the biggest increase? Trade, transportation, and utilities. Okay, that makes sense. Healthcare and hospitality, or healthcare and social assistance. Leisure and hospitality. Wow. Accommodation and food services. So there's a lot of job openings here. Coincidentally enough, I really want to see the numbers on how immigration is impacting these numbers. Yo, anybody who votes not to make America healthy, I'm gonna put them on blast today. All right, this isn't looking too hot. I'm gonna accept the risk on this trade and try to see if I can hold this through. Because if it does break back in, I'm gonna be able to unwind both of my positions. I've already accepted the risk on this, but it is looking really aggressive. Not having a second retest would be unusual, but in times like this, everything's unusual. Like when I was studying economics in school, they would always say, be careful of anybody that tells you this time is different. right? Because it just means they don't know what they're talking about. I had to break it to whoever the fuck said that to me in school. This time really is different. Everybody here has been alive for a long time. What was the last time you guys saw changes like this happening this fast? Or like COVID, maybe. Maybe we're all just numb to it. But there is going to be a lot of erratic and random movements. I mean, if you guys were trading back when Trump was president during like pre-Brexit, right before the China trade wars, guy would be in his fucking, gotta be in the bathroom, send a tweet. Tweet crashes the whole market, 5 million points. Your stop loss, cooked. Trade, more cooked. So in that, like in that sort of environment, and just like all jokes aside, make sure that you guys are prioritizing risk management because I know that you can make a lot of money on some like a few trades where you over leverage, but you will lose the money just as quick, right? So priorities here. Bro, imagining that is hilarious. No, no, this really fucking happened. Stop loss cooked. My life destroyed. Emotional done. Dignity nowhere to be found. Trump on the shitter. Fuck Xi Jinping. He said he said yeah, fucking he went to go see Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Said Kim Jong-un told him, "Yo, I got a red button too, buddy. I got a red button too." Trump gets up, tweets fucking 5 in the morning, talking about some Kim Jong-un says he has a red button on his desk too. Somebody tell little Rocket Man that my button is bigger. Bro, this is 5 in the fucking morning on a Wednesday. Stop loss cooked. Broker, you fucking email the broker. Oh, what just happened? My stop loss got cooked. They just hit you with the I don't know, the me no no emoji. The fucking oh no, no. Who fucking blame the LP? That was every day. If you traded through that, put something in the chats. Let me know that you're a fucking vet. I see the scars on you from here. Brexit was, for me, one of the most profitable times in trading, just because I kind of had my eye on the ball. But the Trump trade wars were so random that you did not know who he was going to attack that morning. It was crazy. Crazy, just like this trade. Not even a pullback. Stop loss here. Entry is technically here now. I'm I'm 5 points away from cutting this trade. But if there is a chance that we close right below the stops and then we get some kind of pullback before we continue, I'll be able to unwind unscathed. Minus basically like the fucking aneurysm I'm about to have. Okay, let's see if we're live. Almost. All right. I'm gonna have to close out this trade. All right. I'm gonna close uh two positions. I'm gonna leave one of them open. The one at the double top. See if at least if we get a pullback and we go through the zone, I can maybe make back about 50% of the losses, but we'll see. This thing is dancing around the stop loss. Can I please check the magnet, brother? There was no magnet on this chart. All right. The best I can do is the DXY. Best I got for you. All right. Dollar's ready to head back down, which means that stock market and crypto is about to head back up. So a lot of people were kind of looking at this spike over the weekend on crypto and stocks, kind of thinking like, oh, stocks are going to crash, et cetera, et cetera. We were scalping today for the shorts, but in no way do I think that stocks are bearish. I've been saying this all year, and I'll be saying this for the rest of the year. Bullish stock market 2025. Now, short term, we all see this head and shoulders. We all see that price is way overextended above our range, right? We've already kind of broken through that magnet zone. And the magnet zone works both ways. First, it was the upside target for resistance, and then it became support, support. We had the duck, duck, goose situation for the members that know what we're looking at here. And I'd be looking for a push to the downside, retest, and then kind of just play around here. So while the dollar is crashing over the next, I don't know, 1, maybe 2 days, we'll be looking at the stock market and cryptos going the opposite direction, going up. All right, well, in that case, get rid of those, draw a new fib, get the highs, get the lows, delete that alert. And scalp opportunity right here. And if there's a buy opportunity, it'll probably be on the retest of the lows of that gap. Right there. So if there's a buy re-entry, it'll come back in. First, it'll retest this high, kind of make everybody think it's going to do like a little break and retest. And then it's going to come back in. And this 88.6 zone, maybe the 61 zone, kind of a break back inside and push back up. So there's a sell scalp up here if you guys want to go ahead and test that water again. And then there's potentially a continuation model right here. My mentor lost in front of my first day trade. Who's your mentor, bro? Forex TV shorts? What the? So from giving back those funds last night to losing this trade, people, I'd say today's pretty cooked. I'd say trading wise, I've emptied the tank. You guys, obviously, you guys know the drill. Follow your map, whatever that might be. Trust your intuition and trust your analysis. But personally, I'm going to have to take a step back for today, just trading wise.
Morning, we're going to
Let's
vote
go.
on Robert Kennedy's nomination to serve as our nation's chief healthcare officer. Before we get to Mr. Kennedy and why I believe he is singularly unfit to serve as HHS secretary, I'd like to say this. The last several days we've witnessed an authoritarian takeover of our federal government by Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They have set their sights.
What the hell is he talking about?
On major programs within our committee's jurisdiction that include Social Security, Medicaid. For example, this committee voted for a major reform of pharmacy benefit manager legislation. We passed it 26-0, but Trump and Musk killed it. Think what they could do with abuse of the. Now, in my view, much of this is of dubious legality and constitutional authority, and certainly flies in face of congressional responsibilities. I'll wrap up on this point by saying I hope our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will not sit by while Musk and Trump make a mockery of the power Republicans hold in their congressional majority. Now more than ever, the American people need leaders that will stand up to these abuses. That brings me to Mr. Kennedy. A recent analysis showed that Mr. Kennedy has made 114 separate appearances in just the last 4 years where he has espoused anti-vaccine views about.
It's like watching one of those like Chef Ramsay shows where he's like, this is the most awful thing that I wish I would have tasted sooner. So they're doing this whole thing of a thing. I think they're gonna like build up this whole. Dude, if RFK does not get confirmed, do you guys know what's gonna happen? RFK has one of the most loyal followings out of anybody. When he was running as an independent, like he was running as a freaking independent, and he was crushing it. I mean, he was running as a Democrat technically, but then when they, kind of kicked him off the ballot for the coup that they had by replacing Joe Biden, he had a massive grassroots following at his conference, not even the confirmation, at his hearing, the preliminary one last week. There was a live crowd in there. People, I worked in Congress for years. I promise you, I've never seen anyone get a standing ovation after their opening statement, and two, their closing statement. So I think that America unanimously wants better health, and so let's see if they actually live up to that.
General of Health from Samoa called this claim a total fabrication. Peddling these conspiracy theories as the nation's chief health officer is going to be deadly for kids across the country. On abortion, Mr. Kennedy's answers once again raised still more questions. He refused to tell us whether he would blindly follow a directive from Donald Trump to break the law and end access to mifepristone. And he seemed to have no understanding of his role in enforcing existing federal laws that guarantee women the right to life-saving abortion care. Mr. Kennedy also failed on several occasions to show a basic understanding of the Medicare and Medicaid programs he would be tasked with overseeing. Colleagues, that alone should be disqualifying. Mr. Kennedy has given us no reason to believe he'll be anything other than a rubber stamp for plans to gut Medicaid and rip healthcare away from the American people, and be a yes man if ordered by Musk or Trump to take an illegal action. I close with this, colleagues. Today, we're going to make a judgment about the future of science in this country. We're going to make decisions that are going to impact the health and well-being of Americans for years to come. I agree, and I say this to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, that the healthcare status quo needs substantial changes so we get better, more affordable care to patients. And that leaves, given my statement, the question in front of us now that's pretty simple. Do senators want their legacy to include disregarding basic health science and instead elevate conspiracy theorists? Making Robert Kennedy Secretary of Health and Human Services, in my view, colleagues, would be a grave threat to the health of the American people. And I urge my colleagues this morning to vote no. Yeah, we're going to do it.
So Senator Wyden, we have all of our members here. Senator Wyden and I have agreed that we will have 2 or 3 on each side who wanted to make statements, do so before the vote. So please, everyone, hold with us while we have those statements made, and then we will proceed to the vote. I know we've got a lot of folks here pushing on some. You want to vote now?
Yo, let me know what you guys think. Put a 1 if you think they'll vote yes. Put a 2 if you think they'll vote no. If they're rushing to the vote before the statements, it means that they already know it's going to be a yes. But let me know 1 for yes, 2 for no.
I'm happy for both sides to make brief remarks, and I'd still like to stay with that.
I did make that commitment. And so I could say to my colleagues on my side, I would appreciate it if you would hold your remarks until after the vote. We will let a couple on your side have their remarks, and then we will proceed to the vote.
Great, thank you.
And who would be next?
Senator Cantwell.
Senator Cantwell.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I didn't, when you said 2 or 3 people, I didn't know who you had in mind, but being next in seniority, I appreciate the opportunity. Today is very concerning to me because of the future of what I think our nation faces. When I think of this issue, I think of my Pacific Northwest leadership, how Paul Allen on his own invested $100 million to fight Ebola. I think of Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation, not just trying to eradicate polio and work on these issues, but to think of a regime that helps not just our nation's health, but global health. So with the UW, the University of Washington, the Cancer Research Center, all of these entities are a collaboration of saying we have to go faster in solving these threats to our nation as it relates to health. Now, we can have a big discussion, which I think you guys all want to have a big discussion about whether and when what happened in the Wuhan province. But I can tell you, we were the first city. We had the first patient. We had the first people who died in nursing homes. We had an emergency room at a hospital who basically was just begging for any equipment we could get them. The whole community stood up and moved as fast as we possibly could and broke down barriers to save lives. And that is what we have to continue to do on innovation. We cannot let another country get ahead of us on some sort of warfare issue and not have a response when it comes to a vaccine. So the most challenging, I wanted to vote for Mr. Kennedy in the context of my family's history. My dad stood behind his father.
I think they're just building up the hype. I think they're going to vote yes. Nobody gives a shit about any of these people, but RFK has real support, myself included. Right? Let's figure out what's up with this food? What's up with these, new kind of epidemics of diseases that we're seeing? I'm not talking about COVID and things. I'm really talking about, RFK is very adamant about figuring out why there's been such a rise in autism. Why some foods that are banned all over the world are only legal in America. Some dyes, some food coloring, some things that are not well studied enough to rule out as the leading cause to a lot of these issues. So if these senators don't confirm RFK, these people are going to get voted out in the next 6 months. If there's anything we know about the swamp creatures, folks, they don't care about anything but coming back to the show. And they'll do anything to get there.
Speak. Following Senator Warnock, we will proceed to the vote, and then anyone else who wants to make remarks will be allowed to make remarks. Senator Warnock.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. At a rally a few months ago, Donald Trump said that he was going to allow Mr. Robert Kennedy to
Is it just me or he looks like Van Jones for a second?
On health. Go wild. Of all the things that I can think of that I'd like to see a Secretary of Health and Human Services do, go wild is not on the list. Mr. Robert Kennedy is manifestly unqualified for the job he seeks. And in both my live and written questions for the record.
Somebody look up what he does for a living before he got into Senate. See if he's qualified to even make that statement.
Protecting the people who are protecting us. The problem that the CDC has is that every day these noble civil servants and workers protect us from dangers that we don't see. And often you don't get credit for protecting people from things that they don't see. I simply do not trust him to oversee the CDC. He's unqualified, and I dare say everybody here knows it. We need a serious person at the helm of the HHS. An agency responsible for about half of the health of about half of all Americans. Mr. Kennedy appears more obsessed in chasing conspiracy theories than chasing solutions to lower healthcare costs for working families in Georgia. The last thing we need is a dilettante.
Whenever someone says conspiracy theory, just know that whoever they're talking about probably is onto something, because conspiracy theorists are up on the board. Check the score.
Was going to undermine basic science in public health, who puts his own interests above the health and the well-being of others.
The guy that sacrificed 45 years to look after environmental health and give money to family and stand up to people pro bono is putting himself above the health of this country. Even though right now he's a millionaire living the life, 60-year-old stud, could do whatever the fuck he wants.
Politics and think
what is wrong with these people?
And to find the moral courage to do what's right. Oppose this nomination.
Thank you.
Last point, you can always tell who's being paid by who based on what they oppose. All right, making America healthy. What the fuck kind of sound person would deny that, right? You'd be like, oh, this guy's an idiot or he's crazy. If no, he's getting paid like a motherfucker. This guy might be smart as shit. We're the idiots because we keep voting these people in. So you can always tell who's putting money in their pockets by what they're vehemently opposed.
Mr. Scott, aye. Mr. Cassidy. Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mr. Langford. Mr. Langford, aye. Mr.
Oof.
Daines. Mr. Daines, aye. Mr. Young. Mr. Young, aye. Mr.
Unanimous.
Brasso, aye. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. Tillis. Tillis, aye. Mrs. Blackburn. Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Mr. Marshall.
Let's
Mr. Marshall, aye.
go.
Mr. Wyden.
No.
Mr. Wyden, no. Ms. Cantwell.
Mr. Wyden,
Cantwell,
check
no.
his
Mr.
hard
Bennett.
drive.
Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner, no. Mr. Whitehouse.
Put
Mr. Whitehouse, no.
hashtag
Ms.
check his
Hassan.
hard drive.
Ms. Hassan,
Mr.
no. Ms. Cortez
Wyden.
Masto. Ms. Cortez Masto, no. Ms. Warren. Ms. Warren, no. Mr.
Fuck
Sanders.
Elizabeth Warren.
Mr.
Fuck
Sanders,
Bernie
no. Ms.
Sanders
Smith.
too.
Ms. Smith, no. Mr. Lujan. Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Warnock.
No.
Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Welch.
It's all the fucking Democrats.
Chairman votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the final tally is 14 ayes, 13 nays.
The ayes have it. Your mic's off, Trap.
The vote was, would the clerk please restate the vote?
Mr. Chairman, the final tally was 14 ayes, 13 nays.
You said why they look so sleepy? It's because they know they're about to lose, Trap.
Nation is reported favorably. We will now turn to other senators who would like to make a statement. Since I asked my Republican colleagues to hold off at the outset, I'll go to
Let's
the Republican
go.
side next. First, Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I voted aye today, and I want to just briefly explain why. I believe in my 65 years, I'll be 65 in August, that Mr. Kennedy will be one of the first people coming before who is in fact not a trained healthcare expert.
They all voted no because he left their party. If RFK was still a Democrat, every single one of them would have voted yes. They don't give a fuck about us, bro. I'm telling you guys, they do not care.
But Mr. Chair, I think it was Senator Warnock that said that the president said he was going to go wild in the Department of Health and Human Services. I hope he does. I hope he goes wild and actually finds a way to reduce the cost of healthcare.
Oh, we're the first to get
I
the
hope he
news.
goes wild, and instead of having the discussions that we have
The media hasn't even had a chance to chat GPT their articles yet.
paid work and making people on Medicaid healthier, I hope he goes wild and figures out how to do it, because
You said that dude that voted no was a pastor? Oh,
I hope
I don't know what church, brother. No God of mine would ever lead me down a path like this.
our food safety supply. I hope he goes wild on the healthcare supply chains, and in fact tries to make sure that drug prices go down instead of bludgeoning pharmaceutical companies. Get everybody in the room and make sure that we do this right. Reduce the cost of bringing a vaccine to market, reduce the cost of bringing drugs and therapeutics to market. Look at the full supply chain. And
They're trying to hide his name so badly.
he is no health professional. In fact, he's the first, I believe, and since I've been alive, who's not been a healthcare professional in a scientific sense.
Yo, put Make America Healthy again in the chats, people. We've been eating garbage food. If you guys are from anywhere around the world, if you've ever traveled outside the country, you know how shitty the food in America is. You eat the same exact food, 5 burgers a day in any other country, right? You'll be fine. You come here, you have half a fucking milkshake and you're on the couch for a week. There's food that's not even considered human grade food in all of our stuff. Corn is one of we subsidize corn more than any other vegetable. Most of the world does not consider corn human food. They consider it animal feed. That's what they think of us. So for the first time in my lifetime, we have somebody taking this serious, not this, make kind of like the campaigns they had when we were doing physical education and others. This is a real radical change in the priorities of the health services, not just funding their own pet projects and their own passion projects and their friends' kind of research studies so they can just give them billion-dollar grants, but an actual focus on maintaining and preserving the health of Americans, because we're not going to be able to vote, be economically productive, be socially productive if the health is deteriorating. So this is kind of the first line of defense here. And if we didn't get this right, nothing else was going to be right. So very, very happy to see this.
Very important question to me during the hearing. I asked him specifically if it was his intent to let the scientists of the CDC, the NIH, BARDA, and other organizations to work independently. He said to me under oath that he would. If he fails to do that, that will be a concern for me and something I'll bring up in a future oversight hearing. But Mr. Chair, we have not made appreciable progress in Medicaid and improving the health of the population on Medicaid. We have a SNAP program that does have too much sugar and things that are eligible in that program that should be eliminated to make these people who are on free and reduced lunch healthier. We need to stop having full trash cans in public school cafeterias full of stuff that the kids aren't eating and figure out how those kids on free and reduced lunch actually have a healthier lifestyle. And so I, for one, think that it is time to put a disruptor in. It is time to put somebody in there that's going to go wild. But there are areas where I think that.
Yo, last note about the NASDAQ chart for the members. Look at where the market hit the 117. Once it hits that, even if there is a retest, it'll probably be like a very shallow retest and pop. So that's why I set my stops there, because if it hits that, the trade is usually cooked. And I think it's been a very, very good marker. Even when the trade doesn't go your way, pay attention to these things because it will come back. It will come in handy next time you see it.
Vote. I believe that silence is consent. And the fact that they haven't suggests to me that folks that I'm instructed by are okay with this nomination. And for those reasons, I voted for Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we had our
Oh, God.
Mr. Kennedy has amended his ethics agreement. Recall that his ethics agreement said that while he was Secretary of HHS, he intended to retain a financial interest in ongoing vaccine litigation that he was already collecting money from, and that he wanted to continue to collect that money, even though he could affect the outcome of that litigation. Now, he has since changed his position on that. He, once this has been exposed and people have talked about it and have some pretty serious reservations about his doing that, he has said that he will.
Senator Elizabeth Warren is the second most paid senator from the pharma industry. Guess who's number one? Fucking Bernie Sanders, $27 million. This bitch got paid $17 million from pharma companies talking about how RFK shouldn't be suing these companies. And you're trying to get kids killed with this shitty food so you can get your gotcha moment on TV? Are you out of your fucking mind? While you're getting paid in the back end from the pharma companies telling you to resist his nomination?
That are in their interest, not in your future financial interest. He has said he thinks that's the right standard, and yet he has figured out how to make money off his anti-vax positions. He's already raked in $2.5 million. He is in a position where she
got paid $17 million from pharma companies. She's talking about a $2 million lawsuit where he held somebody legally accountable for a crime, for denying health standards.
Taking on anti-vax lawsuits the minute he leaves. That is an appalling conflict of interest, and it's one in which the American people can reasonably ask, is Mr. Kennedy's plan to help the American people, or is he planning to use this job to further enrich himself, and he's pointed out with his son, and enrich his family? The importance of this litigation.
Imagine thinking the nephew of JFK and the son of Robert Kennedy Sr., who's already a very accomplished environmental lawyer, is doing all of this bullshit for an extra couple $1 million.
Sued repeatedly and successfully. They simply move out of the vaccine space. We've already seen this happen with vaccines in the past. 20 years ago, we watched vaccines just move away if they did not have protection from these kinds of lawsuits. The consequence of Mr. Kennedy's ability to make those lawsuits easier is also the ability to shut down access and manufacturing for vaccines for every one of us. And I think that's a terrible mistake.
She is the absolute worst.
Big.
The whole like friendly old grandma thing that she's pulling off kind of really makes it hard to see the true devil inside. But she's getting paid more than everybody from this lobby, saying that this guy's after financial gain, it's going to do this and that. There's 72 vaccines given as part of the childhood vaccine schedule. 72. You think every single one of those has been studied? These people don't even know how the fuck Facebook works. How the hell they know the 46th vaccine in that thing is 100% safe? We gotta investigate every goddamn one of them. And if they're all fine, so be it. And if they're not, let's fix it. I don't understand how that is controversial, but there's no wonder why he, passed because, this is a tough one to go against as a senator. You will get voted out in a heartbeat.
Your organization has to have the confidence of the people that work for him. And frankly, some of the things that he did that never explained, a chainsaw taken off the head of a whale, dumping a bear in Central Park for his own amusement. These are just weird things. And we never.
The dumping the bear in Central Park was fucking weird. Let's be honest. I think he might have hit a bear, tried to take it home, ditched it halfway through, just dumped it in Central Park. It's fucking weird, but look, if anybody, look, we're all fucking guys here, right? You ever been drunk and just fucking, I could see it. This was, I think 20 years ago or something. Is it fucking weird? 100%. Has the guy dedicated his entire life to sticking up for folks who have been vaccine injured, environmental causes, things directly going against the medical and the pharmaceutical establishment and the insurance complex, the three biggest sort of lobbies that you're not supposed to go against? Yes. So am I going to forgive a dead bear in a fucking Central Park? Kind of, yes. In exchange for making America healthy again? It's because I care about all of you listening to this. We'll say, you know what, fuck that bear. It's time for us to get healthy.
For political reasons, their deal was made, and the appointment was going to be that he's Health and Human Services. The president has a right to make that deal. Mr. Kennedy can seek it, but it doesn't translate into competence. And the third is priorities. The priority for Mr. Kennedy is about the vaccines and his theory of that. And we need reliable vaccines and not us conspiracy theorists on that. But the healthcare system.
And they're saying all this to stop him from actually researching these vaccines. It's not like they're making these conclusions to stop him from actually just double checking. I mean, what if he's right? What if he's wrong? You don't know. Let him fucking check. But that's why you can tell who's paying these people.
Because the prices are escalating constantly with pharma expenses, with the providers having it, with private equity getting into healthcare. Mr. Kennedy's priority was about his view of vaccines. It was not about making healthcare more affordable and accessible. And in response to really a very direct and easy, open-ended question from Senator Cassidy, Mr. Kennedy showed a woeful ignorance, even between the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. So we have a healthcare system that is not serving, as it should, the interest of American citizens, of American businesses, and American taxpayers. And I, after this hearing, did not have confidence that Mr. Kennedy would be the one to lead us to a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Welch. That concludes the remarks that senators have requested to make, and hearing nothing further, I'd like to thank all of our members for attending. This Finance Committee stands adjourned.
All right, that about wraps it up. Ladies and gentlemen, they said he couldn't do it, but Trump is doing it. They said he was unprofessional, and results speak for themselves. They said he was not an action maker, or he was not an action taker. He wasn't a person who takes initiative and actually gets things done. He would just want to talk and showboat and market. And he's done more in a week than these fucking numbskulls have done in 4 years. I'm shocked this country survived. I'm shocked the hinges didn't fall off the doors of this thing the last 4 years. All right. Well, I mean, they clearly have a financial interest in either the vaccine schedule or one of the pharmaceutical companies that is generating most of the vaccines. And they gave him a call right before the hearings. And they were like, you motherfucker, you let this dude be the head of the HHS and you're cooked. I will never fund your campaign again. You will never run in this state again. We will fund everybody against you. Da, 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 da. And they got out there and they just spazzed out on RFK. What, so these politicians are about the worst as they can get. And we finally have an administration that can take care of some of these bigger issues. I'll leave you guys with one food for thought here. I was reading this. I forgot. I think it was Henry Kissinger, or something like that. No, it wasn't even Henry Kissinger. This must have been. Don't quote. I mean, don't quote me on the source of the quote, but he said if socialists don't secure their borders, then fascists will. And I'm starting to think about this, and the socialists was the last administration. And because they didn't secure their border, because they just had such a good heart and such an ignorant outlook and ignorant expectation of what was really going to happen here and short-sightedness, then now you might have some folks that are enacting some pretty fascist policies, just straight foot down, get it done type policies, because it's necessary. So this should be a very big learning lesson for everybody, is that whenever you allow a socialist government to take control and they don't secure borders, they don't maintain the budget, it just starts to go haywire. They don't maintain social trust or social cohesion or social anything, no nuclear family, whatever it is, then fascists will enforce those things. And nobody wants to be told what to do, right? Or forced into doing something they don't want to do. So hopefully we can find some middle ground going into the future. Trump's nominations are going through pretty smoothly. All of the countries are falling in line with the tariff threats. And it seems like harmony is back where America is back on top. And it feels good, baby. Feels good. All right. Take it easy, y'all. Catch you tomorrow. Trade did not go our way, but we have more opportunities coming. Make sure you prioritize risk management. If you made money, walk away. If you didn't, walk away too. Catch you guys tomorrow, bright and early. Happy and safe trading. Peace. Almost a full house. We still got to wait for Tulsi Gabbard, which I think is going to be the hardest one to get confirmed. It's going to be very tough. But the country has spoken. Trump has a mandate, 80-20 vote. So these senators better not play, or else they're not going to be here come May.